Now to the situation of Bakhmut. Obviously the biggest news are coming in from the north. The latest reports suggest that this entire sector had fallen to the Russians. Now if we zoom in, we can see that this entire sector is almost entirely consists of high-rise buildings. So this is a big win for the Russian forces. Of course, there are some high-rise buildings left. There is a little patch of them right here, as you can see, and some of them are here too. But then again, this entire sector had fallen to the Russians, and I believe with the fall of this sector, these sectors will soon follow. I believe that this sector will be next. One of the reasons why is because, well, first of all, here is the remaining patch of high-rise buildings. And the entire area here is mostly residential with only 1 to 2 stories buildings. These buildings are less durable than the high-raised ones, so one bomb would be enough to destroy it or at least make it unusable for purposes of defense. Now, don't forget, Ukrainians have strong defensive positions here along the rail line as well as in this sector right here. So if Russians were to strike here, they would flank them and attack from as well as attack from the rear. As you can see, a bridgehead is developing as of right now, and Ukrainian positions here in this bridgehead can be compromised as they are going to be attacked from the northwest, north, as well as from the east across the rail lines. Very soon they might find themselves in the crossfire, so once again, the more Russians will take in this region, the more likely Ukrainians will retreat. Now about this sector right here, it would seem that before retreating completely, Ukrainians are destroying the high-rise buildings, thus compromising possible Russian positions here in this sector. It looks like they're leaving this city for good and leaving Russians with ruins. Russians continue assaulting Ukrainian positions all along the rail lines in the direction of this rail station. Fighting also continues here near the train station and its park, as well as in this bridgehead here. Once again, this bridgehead of Ukrainian forces is also compromised due to its size, and Ukrainian forces here are under crossfire by the Russian forces. Fighting continues along the entire Khersenskoye Street as both Ukrainians and Russians are fighting for its control. It would seem that here in this sector, Ukrainians are constantly counter-attacking and harassing Russian defensive lines. But it would also seem that Russians are holding. Heavy fighting are happening around this school and this area right here. Again, Ukrainians had heavily reinforced this sector in attempt to save the TO504 road. And as of right now, it works great for them. Also, there's a video of the Stadium Avantgarde, which suggests that the heaviest fighting in Bakhmut are actually happening in this sector. Again, Ukrainians are fighting hard for the last positions to the east of the rail lines. Unfortunately, I cannot show you this video because it has, well, people dying in it. But again, it's safe to say that Ukrainians and Russians are battling out heavily in this sector. Hey, if you enjoyed my video so far, please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting, as it helps this video to reach more and more people. And also, please consider supporting me on Patreon. That would help me establish financial stability and reach my goal of working full-time on YouTube. Thank you in advance, and let's continue on. It would seem that Russians are not attacking towards Ivanivsky and around those hills. Russians are attacking towards Khramovo here and through these fields in attempt to reach 00506 road right here that leads to Chasiv Yar. Fighting in Bogdanivka continues. Russians are creeping closer to the Grigorivka. Battle for Orekhovo-Vasilivka is still rages on. Russians are fighting for the 4th patch here along the E40 highway, and fighting also reported near Zalishniansky. Again, reports are coming in that official Russian army had heavily reinforced these sectors and are not attacking as actively as someone would expect, because with the fall of Bakhmut, Ukrainian forces will probably retreat from this entire sector and perhaps establish new defensive line along this river right here. Chasiv Yar is very convenient for defense. It has all capabilities to make strong fortress and a lot of roads that lead to it. Here, fighting in Spirne continues as Russians are advancing towards this settlement from the gas station here and along those fields. Russians are also attacking towards Verkhokamensky and in Belokharivka. They had recently captured this patch of land and advanced along this road right here, penetrating Ukrainian defensive positions and initiating the fight for the outskirts of Belokharivka. Serbiansky Forest is also a hot spot on the map as Russians are battling out with Ukrainians here in this sector. Russians are using their artillery to its fullest, destroying Ukrainian defensive positions and smoking them out of their trenches. Fighting continues near Zarychne, and Russians are conducting limited military operations towards Yampolivka, Terny, Novosadova, Nevsky, and Mykiivka. Then we have Kupiansk front that is located here. It is reported that Russians are attacking towards Masyutivka and Sinikivka here, but once again those attacks are limited and Russians are mostly using their artillery. From here we go all the way to Avdiivka. Now, here Russians had established more control over this road right here. They are getting closer to this intersection, and they are also attacking from here towards Novokalinova and from Krasnokharivka towards Novokalinova as well. The triangle of Novobakhmutivka, Krasnogorivka, and Novokalinova remains to be hottest here in this sector. There's videos that I unfortunately cannot show you due to the actual deaths happening in it that suggest that Russians had heavily entrenched themselves here in this sector. We can even see those trench lines along the road. So heavy fighting in this sector continues as Russians trying to gain full control over this road, which will help them attack towards Novokalinova, Keramik, and even further to these settlements. Then we have Russians in Stepova and Berdichi. They still hold defense line on this patch of rail lines. Ukrainian counterattacks did not affect that in any way. Village of Kamyanka still stands. Throughout a day, Russians had conducted limited military operations from Apitne towards Avdiivka and from Vodyane towards Severne. They are also attacking from Vodyane towards Pervomaisky, also assaulting village of Nevelsky. After that we go to Marinka, where situations had not changed. Heavy fighting reported in the center of the city. Village of Popeda remarkably stands. Then we have Russians attacking towards Novomikhailivka, but as always they are mostly conducting limited military operations here, usually bombarding and smoking Ukrainians out, destroying their defensive positions. Situation in Vugludar remains the same as Russians battling out for the control over the Dacha area. Russians are also attacking to the mines from Mikilsky. So in conclusion, what I want to say is that this Russian breakthrough could be fatal to the entire defense of Bakhmut for the Ukrainian forces. These sectors right here cannot provide Ukraine with good defensive positions. Again, not a lot of high-rise buildings, and the buildings that are located here are mostly wooden. So Russians can just carpet bomb these sectors and burn everything that is located here. The only sector Ukrainians can use as a defense is this sector right here, and some of the parts of this sector as well. So this breakthrough can be an endgame for the Ukrainian forces in this entire sector. Ukrainians once again can leave their elite troops here fighting with Russians, tangling them within the city, not allowing them to advance towards Ivanivsky and Chasiv Yar, thus buying valuable time. Again, they could be preparing for a counteroffensive here, but I don't think it's possible. I guess only time will show. So this is the end of the video. I hope you liked it. As always, humanity calls me to condemn all violence against human beings. Have a good day, and always remember, Russia will be free and great.